Twende sasa.
Nipe countdown.
2, 1. Na kuletea matangazo moja kwa moja kutoka kongamano la 6 la ugatuzi hapa Kirinyaga County.
Hapa ni mjini Meru.
Tupo katika eneo la Wetavia County ya Kiambu.
Hivi leo tuko Nairobi Cinema.
Hapa ni Kina, ukipenda Kinango.
Usiwache hiyo dream ipotee.
Kama huyu amekataa, tafuta mwingine, maisha isonge mbele.
Mabadiliko haya yangali yanazua msuke baina ya washikadau.
Baadhi ya changamoto hizo zilikuwa ni kama vile ukosefu wa maarifa.
Wameweza kupeperusha bendera ya Kenya.
Tutaingia kwenye mapumziko kidogo.
Chazi! Na hii mpenzi mtazamaji, ndio
TV47,
Macho na sauti yetu.
A very good morning this wonderful Thursday morning. Welcome to Engage. It is a show that runs from 10 a.m. up to 12 noon, and in studio we'll have a very interesting discussion on failing forward, and we have a wonderful guest for you, Mr. David, who's going to give us insight into his own personal experiences. Remember, we also have our reporters on standby in the field. We have our reporters going to be giving us an update on the Turkana Wind project that is being launched today by the European Union. But first, we have very sad breaking news. 2013 presidential candidate Peter Kenneth has lost his mother this morning at the Aga Khan Hospital. The late Rahab Wamboi has been ailing for quite a minute now. But let's now go straight into the day's topic, calm after the storm. Remember, you can engage with us via Twitter at TV47KE and also via Angie Wangeshi, and also on all our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and we'll get back to you. The topic, calm after storm, hashtag failing forward, and what you can do once that has happened. So you've tried this out, you have failed, so what's next? Do you just sit down and moan about it, or do you move forward? So in studio I have with me David. He has a very interesting way of introducing himself, so I won't even water it down. I'll let him do that for you. It sounds really nice. David, welcome to the show. This is Engage. You said you are a what? I really like the way you're introducing yourself. I know who you are and what you do, but I like the way you phrased it. So share that with us.
Well, Angie, like I said, I am a financier by training and a businessman by passion.
Why? Businessman by passion. What does that mean? You just like doing it. So Naingia too, you do a business, it feels you're not giving up, you're just into it. It's your thing.
Just about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I did finance. I studied at the University of Nairobi, BCom Finance, but I did not study it because I wanted to do finance as a career. I did it because I always wanted to be a businessman, and so finance was to help me understand how money flowed in my business. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So the topic of the day, the calm after the storm. I picked, no, picking on you sounds wrong. I chose you because you have had numerous experiences, and I like your spirit. You don't give up. You fall down and pick yourself up. So I want to tap that from you and share it with the audience on how, when failure happens, how do you pick yourself up and move on? So start us off by telling us, first of all, the kind of businesses you've been doing and how long you've been doing them, and then now those ones that failed, what happened? Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
The first of all, I think like any of your listeners, I have a list of failures almost as long as my arm. But I think that comes with being human. To be human is to fail, unfortunately. Now, with my passion in business, I've had a passion in a number of areas. The first was with branding, and I started this with two friends. We met at university, Strathmore University. And I think the great thing about uni is you've got a lot more enthusiasm than you have knowledge.
I was about to say that. You know, like, let's do this, you and your pals.
Yes. Because you go out there and you see all the opportunities. And you can't figure out why are Kenyans just not seeing this money. And so we said, yeah, let's get together, let's put this outfit. And because everyone's doing events and everyone's giving out a T-shirt, because you know there are all those T-shirts for Ng'ombe.
Branding, you
branding,
know, gee, which candidate. And then you're thinking, people are saying there are no jobs. These are jobs.
Here's a job. Yeah.
So you get
put
into
some
it.
T-shirts together, put some caps together, sell them, make money.
Reflectors for Boda Boda guys.
Exactly. That was the deal. So it was worked out perfectly in our heads. We said, you know what? Okay, let's just be fair about this. We'll all go into this. Everyone gets a 30% share in the business. So everyone gets a third of the business, and everyone's going to put in a third of the effort, and it's going to be awesome. And it didn't exactly work out that way.
The vision and what really happened on the ground is totally different.
Absolutely different.
Walk us through that journey.
Okay. So each of us has a third of the business. And we all start off, like I said, very enthusiastic, knowing we're going to be the next Kenyans, top 30 under 30. You know, in fact, age was just a number. We're just going to be top Kenyans in Kenya. Okay.
The go-to people.
The go-to people. When you see business in the dictionary, you just see our faces over there and you'll be like, yes, that is them. Okay. One of us got a job and said, you know, guys, it's real, but I'm making money on this side. I'll support you from behind the scenes. I've got your back. And then
I'll hook you up with
I'll
clients.
hook you up. And it was a slow fade. Where he just faded quietly into the distance. Now, you know the thing about us, we were very gender balanced, if you will. Two guys, one girl, everything's split. We know exactly what we're doing. So guy number one gets a job. First started working with his father's company, and so he was still able to come in now and then. And then now he just got a job, and he said, hey, it's been real. I will see you on the sidelines. And he was out. By this time, what we did, we registered as a business, okay? And we had split the shares equally. So now this became a problem, because now you needed decisions from all three of us, and one of us was missing. So now one thing we had to do was chase him down, trying to get him so that he can sign over his portion of the shares, and we now run this thing together. Eventually, after a long while, we found him. We managed to actually just get him to sit down. He signed the papers, and shares were transferred to me and my partner, the lady now.
Yeah.
And so we said, okay, let's do this thing. So I was supposed to be in charge of marketing and looking for business, and she'd be in charge of doing the taxes, the behind-the-scenes work, accounting and all that. And so I got out there, I'm very enthusiastic. I started looking for business, and it was a stretch. It was quite hard, because you know, when you see people running around in T-shirts and this branded material, no one tells you the business process of getting, number one, into a company's supplier list. Okay? And then number two, no one tells you that you're not paid immediately. So your suppliers want you to pay them there and there, because you're a young business. But the people you're supplying to are telling you, you know what, we really like this thing of credit, and we suggest 90 days, but they're not suggesting it, they're telling you. They're telling you, okay, chief, this is going to happen. We'll pay you in 90 days' time. Now, unless you have a reasonable amount of money, then it becomes an issue. Or you find a supplier who you can work with, who will then now ask you for the cash after you're paid. Fortunately, we had that term with our supplier.
Right.
But on this end, now I'm hustling for business. My partner is silent in the background, no contribution whatsoever. So there is this echo where her space is supposed to be. Okay? And now she was also running her own thing. And she's making it, she's killing it on her end.
So now out of three people, you're the only one still driving this bus.
Yes.
So at what point do you feel, I'm done, you know, I can't just do this alone? Or did you even now like enlist other people to come in?
No, because you know, at this point, you're still a young business. And to bring other people in, you would need the, the permission of your other partner. But she is now busy doing her thing. She's not willing to give up ownership in this business, but it turns out you start looking at it where this person's getting benefits without putting in any sweat. Because she's sweating in her own thing. She's making it there, okay? But I'm sweating here for two. So anything that comes in is being split two ways, but therefore it is coming from one person. At some point, I just said, you know what, I'm not really about that life. If I'm going to sweat, let me sweat for myself. And yeah, I just decided I'll figure it out. I'm done.
Right.
Yeah.
So after you made this decision to quit, was this like your very first failure? Like you felt, you know what, I can't do this partnership thing anymore. Did you get into more partnerships after that?
I did get into other partnerships, but I learned quite a bit from this one, because I learned that one of the things that brings down any partnership is unvoiced expectations.
Yes.
Because everyone expected someone to be doing something, but not everyone was saying what they expected. So now you end up in a state where I expect her to be at least telling me, hey, David, there are these people, they need branding, go talk to them. To at least throw leads my way. So I'm not the only one hustling out there. But she is sitting silent. She expects me to be doing all the marketing and expects an equal split. But if I looked at the amount of work she was doing versus what I was doing, it made no sense for us to have a 50-50 split when I was doing pretty much 85% of the work.
Okay. So, David, the branding business didn't do so well. What was the next thing now you emerged your frustrations into, if I may describe it that way, because you're thinking, you know, I have to prove to these people it can work. They went and did their own side hustles. They're comfortable. I'm here thinking, back to scratch, back to zero. So what happened next?
Okay. I decided to pursue something else I've been very passionate about since pretty much high school. And this was agriculture. Okay, now agriculture, let me just preface this by saying, number one, agriculture has money, but number two, I blame all those magazines and articles that tell you be a millionaire in 3 months' time, do a 1/4 acre of onions, 3 months, and the world is yours.
Buy 5 quails and...
Yeah, by the way. And
that
that quail story.
You did it.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I actually owned quails, but it was because I wanted to own quails.
Okay.
Okay? That was from something else entirely.
Right.
But the way people got burned with that quail story, it was funny, but it was not funny.
We'll get back to it, because I think also Kenyans have that mentality. When something is new, everyone wants to do it.
Yes.
You're forgetting the moment everyone is doing it, then the value goes down. So you can't even earn a profit from it. So we'll get back to that.
Yes.
Hustle number 2.
Hustle number 2.
Yes.
Okay, hustle number 2, like I said, agribusiness.
Yes.
And it's pretty much the hustle I've stuck with so far. But agribusiness, when I started it, I was looking at what everyone else pretty much does, which is things like onions and tomatoes. Because everyone tells you, you know what, even if anything happens, mtu atakosa nyama, lakini sukuma atapika. Na atapika na nyanya,
na tomato.
Atapika na vitunguu. So you know tomatoes and onions always have market.
Yes.
Okay. I said, okay, sir, let's jump into this thing. I'm fairly passionate about it. Did my research, learned what the crop needs, and all these things. And I thought, let's be wise. Let's not just jump in and be green about it. Let's actually find a softer way to get into the market. And so I looked for a place where I could do, an easy way to describe it would be sort of, the word escapes me, but basically they facilitate you getting into... My mother tongue will be even harder.
We will translate. Yes.
Basically, they facilitate you getting into agripreneurship.
Yes.
Because they provide you with a space and a way to gain experience easily. So that's what I looked for. And I also found out, again, there were a lot of unmet expectations on my end because what they promised versus what they delivered were miles apart.
So what, you're not giving us the nitty-gritties? We're trying to help someone out there.
I can tell you the story.
So what was it? What didn't work?
Okay.
What's the story?
Basically, this is what happened. This organization, what they did, they provided you with a piece of land to rent, okay, about a 1/4 acre. And now you rented this 1/4 acre for a certain amount every month, and there was a bit on top of that for training. So once a month, they'd train you on various aspects in agribusiness. So once it would be the spraying program, and then they'd also tell you about the pests you should look for, how to do your walk in the field to determine your pest pressure, and then how you should also take care of the watering of the place, various aspects of the business, okay? And in return, what you were supposed to do, apart from renting the piece of land, you'd get drip irrigation for that piece of land.
Right.
Okay, so they had the overall drip irrigation for the entire farm. You'd come with the piece that you need to put on your third of an acre. Okay, that was number one. Number two, you get the seeds for whatever it is you're growing. So they'd give you a list of crops that are available that you can get into. For example, you could do spinach, beans, tomatoes, onions, and the like. Then they break down the costs and the likely profit of each. So now you could look at it and you'd say, okay, this looks more profitable, I'll go into this. Okay? And then now they'd also give you, they'd facilitate workers, but you would almost have to take care of everything on the working end.
Wow.
Okay? Which is difficult because these guys are out in Isinya.
And how about marketing the products?
Marketing, we came to learn that
Like
it
who
was on
would-
you.
You're the one to find
The
guys
market,
to
yes,
buy.
to buy your produce.
Okay.
Which is difficult because, like in my case, from Nairobi all the way to Isinya, if I'm going to market, the fuel cost alone getting there. Number two, I have no one that I know in that area. So it would be starting from scratch. Would I go to the market? Would I talk to hotels? What is the issue? Okay?
Yes.
And that's one of the expectations that was unmet because I thought that that was actually supposed to be part of the package because they're in the area.
Yeah,
They know the
because I
people
hear
there.
that a lot. Like
Yes.
you will provide all of that, but at the end of the day, what you have, they will sell for you.
Yes.
They'll find the guys to buy.
Exactly. So they'd do that bit of facilitation so that I'm not running from Nairobi to Kitengela
Looking for
to Isinya
buyers.
looking for buyers, okay? Or talking to people in Nairobi, then I go pick my produce in Kitengela to bring it all the way back.
You are literally duped.
Yes.
Hustle number two.
I felt that way, yes.
Yes. So now for hustle number two, the agribusiness, what was the breaking point? At what point did you feel, no, this is too much? And how long did you do it? For how many months? A year? Probably?
Well, what happened was you usually got into contract for a season, which is about a year. So it depends on the crop. Because with onions, you've got about a 5-month cycle. That's from all the way from planting to harvesting completely and then going into another season. Okay?
Okay.
So I did it for 1 year. And at the point when I realized it wasn't worth it was two things. First of all, it was always an issue chasing them to do stuff on my land. Okay? So spraying is supposed to happen. I'm not there. They're supposed to have people who scout the land and then tell me, okay, this is what needs to be sprayed, this is what it will come to. That wasn't happening. So I'd show up, I tried to go there once every week or at least once every 2 weeks. Whenever I went, I'd find that there's always work that needed to be done, but they didn't communicate to me. So I was always reacting instead of being proactive.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Then number two, at the end of the season, I barely broke even. So from all the effort that I expended, even the minimum that they promised as a harvest,
Yes.
it was about half of that. Okay?
Yes.
So I came in under-harvested and over-costed. I spent a lot more than they said I would spend. I harvested a lot less than they said I'd
Yeah,
harvest.
which was my next question. Like, how much did you put in and how much did you lose?
I put in at least 100 to 150,000,
Right.
all costs considered.
Right.
And consider again that this land is not cheap to rent, because for a third of an acre, they were asking 6,000 per month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That
Okay?
was really.
That's before
yes.
they put in water, and you still have to take care of labor on your own, and they still expect you to supervise your labor from wherever you are.
Yeah.
Don't ask them about that story.
Okay.
So you, number one, get the laborers, which is difficult because you're not in the area. Okay, so you ask guys who are working on the farm, you get 2-3 people to work on your land,
Okay.
and then you pay them.
Okay.
So, and then they would feed the laborers, but you got the cost for that.
So it was really costly for you. So
was
the
quite
loss
costly.
was really great.
It wasn't that great because at that time when we harvested, the price for onions was good.
Okay.
Okay, because I did onions. Price was good. But like I said, I just about broke even.
Okay.
Whereas according to the minimum calculations they had provided, I should have hit about 300,000 plus. I hit just about 150.
Okay.
So,
So David, after the first season you were done, or did you do 1, 2, how many seasons did you do?
well, onions again are supposed to take a 5-month cycle. Because of the constant back and forth with them, it took longer than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold that thought, David. Ladies and gentlemen, we are doing the topic Calm After Storm failing forward? Like, what really happens once you've done a project, it hasn't really taken off the ground? So what do you do after that? David will be here discussing with us his personal experiences and what we can take home from that. But in the meantime, let's cross over to our reporter Josh, who has an update on the field.
Amount with 365 turbines, a 33 kV electricity grid system, and 33/200 kV substation, as well as civil works such as the construction of concrete foundation pads, permanent housing for the workers and related utility service, rehabilitation, and approximately 200 kilometers of existing road to the wind farm site. I have visited this site already, and it's truly mind-blowing in more than one sense, because having been certified by the German Institute of Wind as the windiest spot on Earth, this is just words. But when you go there and you stay there, I mean, maybe not myself because of a certain weight problem, but any of you probably would be able to throw yourself against the wind and still stay up. It's amazing, absolutely amazing, the continuity and the strength on the wind in such a place. So it's been very much the right decision to invest in such a project, because it's a basically extremely cheap form of energy, absolutely renewable, reliable, and it's the best use one can do of such a resource that otherwise would not be much more than perhaps a nuisance. Because when I was there, I was thinking, how can people live here with this wind so strong, making such a noise all the time? And now it has a use for the benefit of the whole country. Also, it reinforces the Kenyan leadership in the renewable energy sector in the region and in the continent. I strongly believe that Kenyans have the peculiarity of having a specific sensitivity for their environment. This is not only about the fact that being such a beautiful country, there are so many touristic places that, of course, attract all the more tourists if they are maintained well. I think it is much deeper than that. It's not by chance that the Nobel Kenya has is for the flag bearer of environmentalism in Kenya, Wangari Maathai. So I think it is extremely, it matches, this is not just a good leadership. This is a whole people that has a clear perception how important it is to work within a sustainable environmental situation. Not only, of course, this is a crucial investment to ensure that Kenya has enough energy to support its rapidly growing economy. The current economic growth, plus 5.7% in 2019, as for the latest World Bank figures, in addition to boosting the manufacturing sector, which has been outlined as one of the big four agenda, relies heavily on a country with reliable electricity, which the Turkana wind farm will surely provide. You know, Kenya has relied for a long time on hydroelectric power, but unfortunately the recurrent droughts talking climate change have affected the source of energy. The wind farm doesn't have those problems. On top of that, the prices are competitive due to the condition that I just outlined, with an average of 50% load factor. The Lake Turkana can offer a competitive power price without subsidies. Promoting sustainable energy is absolutely key to tackle climate change and generate green growth. It also directly reduces social inequality and poverty. It's an engine of development, an engine of growth. Energy is a top priority for the European Union as we work to help partner countries transition towards sustainable energy and low carbon growth in line with Sustainable Development Goal number 7. Sustainable energy is a key component of the Africa-Europe Alliance for Sustainable Investment and Jobs, launched at the end of 2018 by President Juncker. And access to energy plays a fundamental role in development. The objective of the 2030 Agenda is to give universal access to affordable, reliable, modern energy services by 2030. The European Union is determined to help partner countries to increase renewable energy generation and diversify their energy sources by exploiting renewables. The European Union is increasing the access to energy and fighting climate change globally by investing in renewables. Connecting households to sustainable energy supply offers also, in terms of gender, women more chances to increase their security, to live in a healthier environment, empowering them to pursue economic activities. This project strengthens further the excellent cooperation between the European Union and Kenya, which has been steadily growing over the last few years and intensifying in a way that, if you allow me, has become truly sustainable. Even if I'm about to leave my post, I'm absolutely confident that my successor, who will come at the beginning of September, will be able to bring our relation to even better heights. And we perceive as a very important element to help Kenya in its leadership. As you know, Kenya has been prominent not only in the Paris Treaty on climate change, on fighting trafficking in ivory, on trying in every sector, I would say, to promote a distinctive environmental policy. But I think Kenya has a regional and global responsibility in being able to show to other countries and other neighboring peoples in the wider region that indeed there is a way forward that makes environmental issues a key element and a convenient element because, as I said, this is one of the cheapest forms of energy that can provide it. This is also the largest investment in Kenya, which has been brought together by multiple development partners, the European Investment Bank, the African Development Bank, and FinFund, over a period of 10 years. This is an example of the European Union and its member states' joint cooperation with Kenya on development projects. Just to finish with a few figures before Mrs. Collen will give you the real figures. This project has employed up to 2,500 people with many permanent contracts. The 200-kilometer long road built for the project has considerably cut the travel time to the nearest town from days to hours. This has also benefited local fishermen because, talking of the blue economy, the fishing from Lake Turkana is one of the, I think it is actually the highest export base in fishing here in Kenya. So a collateral benefit of this 200-kilometer road is also that fishermen from Lake Turkana now can benefit enormously from this road and being able to sell fresh fish at a competitive price. And this comes, by the way, from an impact study that FinFund commissioned. So after having given you the frame, allow me please to give the floor to the real painter, the artist. Today, Madame Catherine Collen, the head of the regional office of the European Investment Bank, that has worked so relentlessly and overcome multiple nerve-wracking challenges with this smile on her face. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Stefano, and good morning to all, and welcome from my side as well to this press conference. Actually, as a matter of fact, it's only a few weeks that we are living in under the same roof together with the European Union delegation.
We recently changed the premises. Yes. I don't know if you realized.
And EIB is co-located with the European Union delegation, which is another sign of alignment and strong cooperation. As EIB is the Bank of the European Union, just to remind you, we are owned by the 28 European Union member states. We are the largest international public bank. Last year only the EIB group has provided more than 64 billion, which is approximately over 7 trillion Kenyan shilling, to support new investments across Europe and worldwide. So EIB is a bank. We provide long-term financial and technical support for projects that have to go through a very thorough financial, technical, economical, environment and social assessment process. And Lake Turkana Wind Power Farm is one of this process. I mean, we usually we don't go alone. We are co-financing with other financiers, and we try and mobilize other sources of financing for the project that we are supporting. And Lake Turkana is also an example of this, of European alongside the African Development Bank and others who have supported the project. I mean, if we look at what we've been doing in Africa, and I'll come back to Lake Turkana after that because I think it's a good example. We've been financing investments in Africa since the 60s, 1965 to be precise, and in Kenya we started operating in 1976. So it's been a while, and last year the EIB has actually committed 3.3 billion euro, which is of new financing for private sector and infrastructure investments across the African continent. I mean, this was actually the largest, the highest ever amounts that we have committed to the African continent, which is a sign of the priority that is given to the continent as well. And this has backed new private sector investment, clean energy, transport, water investment for about 59 projects in 20 countries. If we look through our portfolio in Africa, we can see that energy, and in particular renewable energy, is quite predominant. And actually EIB is one of the largest financiers of renewable energy. And we are a pioneer. We see ourselves a pioneer of the sector with a very specific expertise in that area. And I would say that Mr. De Jack referred to the nomination of the new president of the European Commission earlier this week. And actually during her speech, she talked about the European Green Deal, making Europe the champion of green, and also referring in there to giving EIB a stronger role in terms of supporting climate action, which is something that the bank has already been doing and is prepared actually to reinforce even more. And actually, now coming to Kenya, what is striking here in Kenya is that it is one country where we've been able to deploy all our financial instruments in quasi all the sector, but energy is actually the largest one, because Kenya is clearly endowed with renewable energy resources and is making good use of it. I mean, we have been supporting Olkaria and the geothermal and KenGen for many years already. Lake Turkana is clearly a flagship project for us. And even though I was described as the painter, I would say that we have a few painters and artists in the bank, because this project has kept a number of colleagues busy for a number of years, but we are happy and very proud to have supported the project, because it's clearly a flagship in terms of making the best out of renewable energy and doing it with the private sector.
If I may, Catherine, you know, when people think of banks, it's not immediately a smile that comes on your face, but I think that the European Investment Bank is truly, can be defined a bank with a big heart, because it is a bank that doesn't just look at the profitability of what they do, which of course needs to be met, but looks at the social and economic development drive. So it has a commitment to, it's there for helping development, and so they care a lot about people and the sustainability of projects like this one that go to benefit the people. So this is not just a banker that I have here, and that's why I talked of an artist, but it's a banker with a big heart and a big smile, by the way.
So, thank you, Stefano. EIB has, I mean, the financing package for this project was quite impressive. It's about 600 million euro. And EIB has actually contributed 200 million euro to this financing package, to which should be added a 25 million euro grant that we mobilized from the European Union in what we call blending, mixing grant and loans, to have a more attractive financing package. And actually the way we did it on this project was quite innovative at the time, since the grant was injected as quasi-equity. So it's like, as part of the equity, taking the highest level of risk, and then we came in with other loans with different levels of risk. So it was a very complex financing structure that I will not go into the details.
I hope that you're all comfortable with the technical jargon, but please interrupt us, because, for instance, blending, it's like a magic keyword. But if you think you want us to explain a little bit what it means, we're happy to do so if you ask.
But maybe we can do question and answer after the little statement.
As you like, huh?
So that is the situation. We have been working together with other lenders, as we mentioned, African Development Bank, Proparco of France, DEG of Germany, FinFund. So it's a large pool of Finland. So it's a large pool of an FMO of the Netherlands, important one as well. So clearly important project which will have huge economic, social impacts in Kenya. And I will not come back because Stefano has mentioned them, but I myself, I drove to Lake Turkana. Be it only through the road. I mean, it's quite impressive, and sometimes the road there is better than certain area of Nairobi, I would say. But I mean, it is extremely impressive what has been achieved there. So you have referred to the study on the impact, so I will maybe not come back to this. Clearly, supply of clean energy at an affordable price is extremely important. As far as EIB is concerned, of course, Lake Turkana is a flagship. It's our largest exposure, our largest investment here in Kenya. So that means we've been following it very closely over the last couple of years, and we will be very happy to be there tomorrow for this important event. But we are looking at other investments in the renewable energy sphere in Africa and in Kenya in particular. I mentioned earlier Olkaria geothermal, which we are supporting for many years, and we've actually one of the new plant.
That is an update at our Nairobi hotel. It is a pre-launch briefing of the Turkana wind farm, and they will be visiting the farm tomorrow. It is the European Investment Bank in conjunction with the European Union. EU President there, Stefano de Jack, giving his views on the project. The representative from the European Investment Bank, Mrs. Catherine Collan, giving an estimate of the project standing at 600 million euros. Remember, we will be hooking up with our reporters who are in the field. They'll be giving us various updates wherever they are at. That is news happening in the hour in the newsroom. We will bring you that live. And then remember, our topic continues. We are talking about failing forward. Once you fail, what's the way forward? In studio, we have David. He's going to be discussing more. Remember, we have a Twitter question online. Engage with us at TV47KE and also via Angie Wangeshi. Right now, we take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Wanasema mchezo wa wengi hauchezwi na mmoja, naye mtu ni watu, nao watu ndiyo jamii. Hapa ndipo sasa, maana yake utapata fursa ya kusema nami Andrin Kilemi kwenye Kioo cha Jamii. Tutatoa mwongozo wa kuidhibiti na kuimarisha jamii kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 jioni. Tufanye miadi.
Twende sasa.
Nipe countdown. 2, 1.
Na kuletea matangazo moja kwa moja kutoka kongamano la 6 la ugatuzi hapa Kirinyaga County.
Hapa ni mjini Meru.
Tupo katika eneo la Waitavia County ya Kiambu.
Hivi leo tuko Nairobi Cinema.
Hapa ni Kina, ukipenda Kinango.
Usiwache hiyo dream ipotee.
Kama huyu amekataa, tafuta mwingine, maisha isonge mbele.
Mabadiliko haya yangali yanazua msuke baina ya washikadau.
Baadhi ya changamoto hizo zilikuwa ni kama vile ukosefu wa maarifa.
Wameweza kupeperusha bendera ya Kenya.
Tutaingia kwenye mapumziko kidogo.
Chazi! Na hii mpenzi mtazamaji, ndiyo
TV47,
macho na sauti yetu.
Bila shaka mtaka cha mvunguni shati ainame. Hivi ndivyo mambo yalivyo katika kuanza na kuboresha biashara. Kipindi cha biashara za familia kitaangazia biashara zilizofua dafu na zinamilikiwa na familia.
Working with the family.
Kufanya kazi na familia si rahisi. Manake wakati mwingine wanakufinya na pia wana matarajio mengi.
They expect much from you.
Ungana nami Vanessa Ndavi ndani ya TV47, tutalii bahari hii pamoja.
Katika nchi ambayo ina watu zaidi ya milioni 45, miongoni mwetu kuna kundi spesheli, kundi la wasanii. Wasanii huchangia pakubwa katika makuzi ya lugha na vilevile kuangazia mambo ambayo yanaathiri jamii. Kila Jumamosi saa 1 jioni ndani ya upeo wa TV47 nami Clifford Ndubi, jukwaa ni lako msanii na fursa ni yetu kuburudika.
I never met someone like you before.
DJ Carol the Queen. Carol the Queen.
Napenda vile unavodunda DJ Carol the Queen. Chiwika una kopi ya mini nani mitaani woni ita OG. Iko vipi kwani we mgeni hapa Nairobi? Na jinsi navyolikidi kana kwamba nifanya kana digidi.
Welcome back. This is Engage this Thursday morning, and we're engaging David this morning on the topic calm after storm. So failing forward, what do we do once we fail? Remember, social media platforms are at TV47KE, and then we also, you can tweet me directly at Angie Wangeshi. I'll be reading your tweets out in a bit. Remember, we are talking about calm after storm. David, welcome back. How was your break? Interesting, right? We won't say what happened. So we were talking about your second hustle, the onions and tomato business, and what according to you was the breaking point. That's where we were at before we went for the break.
Yes.
So you said, what made you just do away with the business finally?
Well,
it wasn't working out. You put in too much?
You put in too much and you barely break even. And when you look at the kind of stress you went through, then it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
You'd rather find something you can have more control over, because that's one of the things about mitigating the risk of failure. How much control do you have over the different aspects? And so again, like you said earlier when we were talking, hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
When you look behind, you can see everywhere you made a mistake. The problem is you do not make money that way. You make money on the next one. So looking at it, I found that there was too many things I did not control. And so I said, then, if it's a situation where I do not have that much control, then I'd rather not be involved in that way.
Right. So David, the third business that you went into was which one? And
Mushrooms.
what happened? Wait. I'm still waiting for the quail story.
Well, the quail story.
Mushrooms.
We can actually go into quail story, because the quail
Let's do
story came
mushrooms
way
first,
before
man.
all these.
Ah, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's do the quail story first.
Okay. Now, the reason I got interested in quails was because I attended a sort of seminar, on-the-ground seminar, by a very interesting gentleman. He's called Bishop Titus, what's his surname? Masika. Bishop Titus Masika. He's running a project in Yatta called the Omo Project. And basically what he does there, he's teaching them to be self-sufficient in terms of food.
Right.
So that they do not have to rely on handouts. And he's done an awesome job over there. If you Google it, you'll find him. But when we went for the on-site seminar, he was talking about alternative poultry. And so he talked about quails as birds that occupy very little space, and yet they've got high nutrition in terms of their eggs and the like. So the reason I got involved in quails personally was because I wanted it for my personal benefit. It just happened to coincide with the quail craze in Kenya, when everyone became convinced that quails laid eggs of gold, and they were selling an egg that is barely the size of a thimble for 80 shillings. And that's really what should have warned people. Because there's something
Including
interesting
you.
said. No, first of all, I just observed.
Okay.
I personally just managed to observe. So I escaped the wrath of the quail fiasco. But the thing about looking at a venture, like you said, if every Kenyan is getting into it, then number one, you're likely not going to make a lot of money. But number two, you will make a lot of money if you're supplying all the Kenyans jumping into it, not if you're the market for it. Because everyone who sold incubators, everyone who sold quails, and everyone who sold quails' eggs to others who wanted to rear quails made a ton of money. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only when they started trying to sell it to regular wananchi.
They're like, wait, hold up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because one quail egg went for 80 shillings. One chicken egg, which is 5 times the size, was going for 10 shillings. It doesn't make sense.
I think it was 6 shillings at the time.
It was just about 6 to 10 shillings.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's 6
Just about
shillings.
6 shillings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to mushrooms.
Yes.
What happened?
Okay. I got interested in mushrooms, number one, because, again, after looking through this entire agribusiness situation, I started looking at what can I control. So I looked at, is it possible, number one, to control what the crop needs in terms of space, in terms of water, in terms of light, fertilizer, and the like. And looking through the wide range of possible products or possible crops in agriculture, I looked at mushrooms because, number one, you can grow them in a lot less space. Number two, you do not need as much care as you do with all these other crops. Number three, it takes a lot less time. And so looking at the benefits of mushrooms, I decided to look at this as my next venture.
Okay.
So I did my research, and again, I thought it might be wise not to jump in by myself, which was a mistake. I should have jumped in by myself. But still, the first time I said, let's try get partners, find someone who's familiar with the terrain, And so I found a partner, and she then recommended a consultant who was supposed to help with the whole process. Yes.
What happened next? I want the whole story. Stop giving me highlights. Hey,
I have
I'm
no
here
problem.
for the whole story.
Okay, let's
so
do
we
the
get
whole
to
story.
know what happened, so that we're helping someone out there to know, so you can get into partnerships, this and this can go wrong. Or probably someone is thinking, but I'm doing the same thing, so this is what I'm doing wrong. So yeah, the whole story.
Okay then, I did my research, and I'd like to believe I did very comprehensive research. But I thought, and I was advised, that I should get someone who's actually gone through the entire process. So I said, fine. We found a gentleman who was a consultant in the field and who was supposed to help us with everything from step one to step last. Okay? And that's one of the things about agribusiness. When you're looking for help, ideally, you want someone who will help with the market also. Ideally. But I came to realize that as an investor, especially in agribusiness, you need to look for your own market. You cannot rely on someone to come to you and tell you this is where you'll sell your produce, because then now you're stuck. And agribusiness, you're producing a perishable commodity. And so if this person who you're relying on for a market takes forever to get back to you, then your produce goes bad.
True.
And then you're stuck, because they will not take responsibility for that. You're on your own.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I learned. Find your own market. Even if someone promises you a market, that's great, and that's a bonus.
Yeah.
But do the legwork for yourself.
Perfect.
Yes.
So after the mushrooms, what else did you engage in? Stop laughing. Because I'm thinking, this guy, like, you do a project, it fails, you're still going.
Yes.
What drives you? Because I think this brings us to personalizing failure. Some would do that and just think, I am done. What kept you going? And then also address a little bit of why should we personalize failure or not?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what keeps me going? Firstly, the thing that I see as the bigger picture. Like I've said, agribusiness makes money. It makes a lot of money. The only question is, how do you approach it? So for me, it's not about whether or not the field is a sustainable venture. It is, can I tweak my approach so that I can now hit the bullseye? It's like playing darts. When you start playing darts, there's an entire board. Sometimes you'll hit the 3, sometimes you'll hit nothing on the board. You'll hit the door, okay? Or sometimes you'll hit the board and the dart bounces off. But you know that the bullseye is there, and that's your aim. So no matter how many times your darts bounce off the board, if you keep throwing and keep practicing, then eventually you'll get the ability to hit the bullseye. So for me, that's what it is. Okay. I know what the bullseye is, and it's not a target that will disappear. So I just need to keep refining my approach until I get the ability to hit the target.
Okay, David, thank you very much for that. Personalizing approach.
Failure.
Is it a no-go zone, or should we allow ourselves to grieve?
You should allow yourself to grieve because you have suffered a loss. And to deny that is to be false to yourself. When you fall down, you get hurt, you cry. You do not say that I feel nothing and then walk off with a stone face and think, because if you do not allow yourself to accept that you have lost, then now you start avoiding every situation in which there's a possibility of loss. And the truth is that in life, there will be loss. There is no situation in which you will not face the possibility of loss. Yes.
Okay.
So yes, allow yourself to grieve, but do not grieve too long.
Okay. Thank you very much, David, for that. I want you to demystify the statement. Some struggle, some achieve. Why?
Some struggle, some achieve.
Yes.
I think it depends on the time scale with which you're applying, to which you're applying that statement. Because a more accurate version of that, I think, would be that in the beginning, everyone struggles. Because think about this. None of us was born knowing how to walk, okay? Everyone walks nowadays. Kids will be born, they will learn how to walk. You will not look at a 10-year-old and say, man, that is such a great walker. Why isn't this 2-year-old walking as well as this one does? But the fact is, the 10-year-old also struggled. You may not be privy to the struggle they went through. So when you see someone achieving something great, you may not know the struggle they went through to get that level of mastery. But the fact is that they were not born knowing how to do that thing. So they had to learn how to do it.
Are you sure? Because sometimes it feels like you and I are doing the same thing, right? But yours just hit the ground running. Why is mine taking longer to lift off?
There are different ways to look at this. One thing I love about agriculture is that it has many metaphors for life. Okay, so let's take agriculture. If you plant onions versus someone who plants sukuma wiki, you'll look at him a month down the line and you'll say, man, this is such a successful farmer. Why didn't I plant sukuma wiki? But the thing is, onions and sukuma wiki have different timelines for maturity. And onions and sukuma wiki also have different value in the market. Sukuma wiki will sell for about 25 shillings per kg. That's if you get a really good price. Onions, you will not get less than 50 shillings per kg at the worst. Now, the only question becomes, are you a sukuma wiki farmer or an onion farmer? If you know what you are looking for, then you will be patient through the process. That's my take.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome. Wisdom is just flowing in here, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, you can still continue tweeting us via at TV47KE or directly to me at Angie Wengeshi, and we'll be getting your feedback in just a bit. David, there's another question about why they're average people versus achieving people. Well, what happens? I didn't want to put it in the raw form that it came in, but yeah, average people versus achieving people. Yes.
Commitment and vision. An average person may not have a bigger picture that they're chasing, whereas someone who has a commitment, someone who is an achiever, has that commitment. Let's take, for example, sports stars. When all of us were in primary, I'm sure we did sports day. Everyone did 100 meters. People ran. People, of course, there was number one until number last, depending on how many ran. And so for an average person like myself, as soon as I got out of primary, I dusted that story. But look at someone like Usain Bolt. He's someone we'd call an achiever. But do you know that for the last almost, if you assume that he's 28 years now, then for almost 24 of his years of living, he was practicing. He was running. And he wasn't just running like we run for fun. He was constantly refining that skill, okay? And that's because there was a vision behind it. Maybe not at that point in time, but eventually he wanted to be world champion. He wanted to be on the stage, winning medals and all that. So that vision is what drove him to the lengths that it takes to get that sort of achievement. In my case, I have a different sort of goal. So like you're talking about perseverance, my perseverance is because I have a certain goal in mind. There's a certain picture I'm chasing. And so that means that even if I fall down, I will get up and try again.
Right.
Yes.
So that makes the biggest difference.
Yes.
I touched a bit on what is this, the culture of boring during the break. That is ailing us. My goodness, it's really a big problem. So how do we ensure that we're borrowing? Is there even borrowing responsibly? I mean, come on. Because I think what most of us are finding ourselves in is the culture of borrowing. We're in a cycle. Like you borrow from this platform to repay the other one, or you might borrow for business purposes and then end up using it for something else. So how do we get disciplined on this aspect?
I think that's a question with many answers, because it comes down to the individual who's borrowing. I can give a couple of pointers for how I discipline myself. Like I said earlier, I am a financier by training. And one of the things we learn in finance is what's the purpose behind your borrowing, okay? You can either borrow to consume or borrow to produce. If it's for consumption, do not borrow. Because what happens is, if you borrow, let's say 100,000 shillings, and you borrowed it because you wanted to go on holiday. Fine, you went on holiday. But now you come back, you've got no way of making more money than you were making previously. Your bills are the same as they were before, but now you've got this extra load of 100,000 that you need to pay back, okay? And from your holiday, all you have at most is pleasant memories. Eventually, you will come to resent that holiday because it's added a burden upon you that you don't have the ability to shoulder. Okay? So for me, if I'm borrowing, it has to be to improve my ability to earn. So that if I borrowed 100,000 shillings, but I borrowed it because I want to go into some venture, then this venture, the way I've looked at it, I know that this venture will bring in money that will pay back the money I borrowed. Okay? So that for me would be a reason to borrow. Second thing is, borrowing from one platform to pay another platform, I think the culture of consumption is the key thing. Because if I'm borrowing, let's say from Branch, they tell me you can borrow, what, 50,000 shillings? I'm like, excellent, let me borrow this 50,000. There's a phone I saw that I just have to get, and everyone's flossing with a big phone.
For a second there, I thought you were going to say a handbag.
That's
okay, phone,
no.
let's do phone.
Let's work with phone.
Okay.
There's a phone I want to buy, or even in the case, shoes, or a handbag I want to buy.
Yeah.
Okay? You see, again, at the very core of it, every product has a function that it fulfills. Everything else is basically add-ons, okay? A phone basically has to be able to call and to text. Going on the net is a privilege, it's a luxury. Being able to Facebook or do WhatsApp, those are extras, okay? So for me to borrow money to buy a new phone, am I going to do anything more with that phone beyond texting and calling? If I'm on the net, is it just to watch cat videos on YouTube, or to see what's happening on Facebook, or to join KOT and roast those Nigerians or those Tanzanians or whatever? If that's the reason I'm borrowing, then it doesn't make sense. Because again, I'll still have, before I borrow, I've got this level of income, this level of expenses, as a balancing it. Now I've borrowed, I've got this level of expenses and this level of income. My income hasn't raised. So it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
We also have some, I think, in my opinion, some of the contributing factors to failing in businesses is also the way, how do I put it? It's also the way we approach these businesses. Because if you're not really serious about your vision, what are the effects in your own experience? If you're not really, because some of us get into businesses for whatever reason that is not even a long-term goal. So what could be the other reason?
In terms of failure
yes.
in business?
Definitely. We're talking about why we are failing and then now picking up after failing. Because we are failing, let's accept.
Yeah, there's a lot of failure out there.
Yes, there's a lot of failure out there, which is leading to depression and many other things. Yeah, so what else? Apart from taking your vision or your hustle or your goal seriously, what else could be contributing to this failure?
I think a short-term mentality. Many people assume that you start business today, it has to hit tomorrow, or maximum give it 6 months to a year, and it doesn't work like that. I think if you look at anyone who's successful in business, even those, even those who seem...
a sip of water.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
Even those who seem to blow up overnight, they've been at it for a while. And if I can take an example of a friend of mine, okay? You know Fatboy Animations? The guys who do the fiber adverts? You know, this is fiber. You've seen those ads. So the guy is called Mike Muthiga, okay? And he is at the top of his game right now. As in, he has dominated that digital animation space like nobody's business. But what you don't know is the story behind it. You understand?
Right.
Because he went to do engineering in Malaysia, okay? And he dropped out of that because he loved animation. So he did animation, studied it on his own. He did a fair number of productions on his own. If you check YouTube, there's a couple of the things he did earlier. Nothing as polished as what he's doing now. He also worked for a while before he came out and did his thing, okay? So he seems to have shot up overnight, but there's a story behind it. There's work that he did, and there are ways in which he was consistent. So when people look at this, then they assume, oh, I can go out there and do the same thing. No, because there's always a process behind it. You always have to build the skill that is necessary, the key things that you need to deliver in whatever field you're pursuing, so that you can now actually meet what the market desires or requires.
Perfect, David. Thank you very much for that. Let's now cross over to the European Union pre-launch press briefing in conjunction with the European Investment Bank on the Lake Turkana wind farm. And then we'll be right back with the topic, failing forward, what do we do after we fall? Waswahili wanasema kuteleza sio kuanguka, so we'll be discussing that and more. Let's cross over and listen in.
Question to Stefano.
Thank you very much. This is typical.
With a smile.
You know, the magic word sustainability that all of us and everyone these days resorts to have many meanings. So it's not only environmental sustainable, it's also for us, and all the more so for the European Investment Bank, a matter of ensuring the profitability and the competitiveness of these projects, so that it becomes truly an engine of development by endowing the country with a project that will self-support itself and will become also one of those typical school ships where you learn how things are made. And that is why I insist also that this is a great example for the whole continent, for all the countries around. Of course, as you know, we don't consider coal in the same way. We don't consider that coal is an environmentally sustainable form of energy, and we think the apparent government's commitment to try to make sure that the environmental impact of such a project is duly considered. It is for us a very welcome step. We would of course welcome that the government more and more invest on renewables, like instead of obsolete energy resources, and all the much more so as Kenya's leadership in the continent. It's a glimpse of light for all the peoples in Africa. Having a good leader like Kenya is key to the future of these growing young generation. As in Europe, we have witnessed how much the young generations of Europeans have taken it directly upon themselves. High school students, most famously the Swedish Greta, and I think they're right. As the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, once said, we need to care on planet A for the simple reason there's no planet B.
And just for the European Investment Bank side, we were the first institution to exclude lending to coal and oil-fired power 6 years ago in cases where those emissions aren't controlled. So we have a clear level in place of 550 grams per kilowatt hour, which means that simply we couldn't look at a large-scale coal project anywhere in the world.
Catherine, could you give in terms of pipeline of energy projects that could be under discussion, just what total commitment that would be and about how much in output, both Kenya and in the region. Not necessarily signed, but those that we're looking at.
Well, as I said, I mean, in terms of pipeline at the moment, I mean, we have not, you know, the latest one that was signed is Radiant and Eldoson. That's 2 times 40 megawatt for $53 million. These are last one. I mean, the Ruzizi one is 140 megawatt. Ruzizi 3, sorry, is 140 megawatt. And I mean, there we still need to decide how much we will invest, because actually we would come both on the public sector and on the private sector. And these are the main one at the moment that we are looking at. So I mean, these are the ones that are the most advanced. And
we do have some smaller indirect support. We work with a lot of renewable energy funds across Africa. Africa Renewables being one, its name says itself, and through those local partners we're supporting a wave of new innovation in the sector with smaller off-grid models and a whole range of local technologies, including benefits for linked to mobiles and things like that. So there's a broad mix, and I think we can safely say there isn't a large-scale clean energy project currently under discussion where we wouldn't be having the discussion at the right time.
We are looking as well at geothermal in Ethiopia. Important.
So any other question? If that is the case, just let us give you another photo opportunity, because I want to show you what a crushing advantage we have as the European Union on you journalists in terms of gender balance. So I would invite Marianne, Dianella, and Beatrice to join Catherine and show you that.
Gender photo.
That with women,
you want to be surrounded by women only.
We do. You know,
but this is his final photo.
Look at him.
Dianella.
Come here, Dianella.
Just to show you that.
The European Union President there, Stefano De Jack, and European Investment Bank representative, Mrs. Collen, giving us an update on the Turkana Wind project. It's expected to cost around 600 million euros, I beg your pardon. Quite a lot of money. I hope good stuff will come out of this project. Our reporter Josh Onsare is on standby. He will be joining us in a bit to give us a live update of what has been happening at the European Union pre-launch briefing. Right about now, though, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with the topic, the calm after the storm. Don't go away.
Wanasema mchezo wa wengi hauchezwi na mmoja, naye mtu ni watu, nao watu ndiyo jamii. Hapa ndipo sasa, maana yake utapata fursa ya kusema nami Andrine Kilemi kwenye Kioo cha Jamii. Tutatoa mwongozo wa kuidhibiti na kuimarisha jamii kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 jioni. Tufanye miadi.
Twende sasa.
Nipe countdown. 2, 1.
Nakuletea matangazo moja kwa moja kutoka kongamano la 6 la ugatuzi hapa Kirinyaga County.
Hapa ni mjini Meru.
Tupo katika eneo la Wetavia, kaunti ya Kiambu.
Hivi leo tuko Nairobi Cinema.
Hapa ni Kina, ukipenda Kinango.
Usiwache hiyo timu ipotee. Kama huyu amekataa, tafuta mwingine, maisha isonge mbele.
Mabadiliko haya yangali yanazua msuke baina ya washikadau.
Baadhi ya changamoto hizo zilikuwa ni kama vile ukosefu wa maarifa.
Wameweza kupeperusha bendera ya Kenya.
Tutaingia kwenye mapumziko kidogo.
Chavi!
Na hii, mpenzi mtazamaji, ndiyo
TV47,
macho na sauti yetu.
Bila shaka mtaka cha mvunguni shati ainame. Hivi ndivyo mambo yalivyo katika kuanza na kuboresha biashara. Kipindi cha biashara za familia kitaangazia biashara zilizofua dafu na zinamilikiwa na familia.
Working with the family.
Kufanya kazi na familia si rahisi. Manake wakati mwingine wanakufinya na pia wana matarajio mengi.
They expect much from you.
Ungana nami Vanessa Ndavi ndani ya TV47, tutalii bahari hii pamoja.
Katika nchi ambayo ina watu zaidi ya milioni 45, miongoni mwetu kuna kundi spesheli, kundi la wasanii. Wasanii huchangia pakubwa katika makuzi ya lugha na vilevile huangazia mambo ambayo yanaathiri jamii. Kila Jumamosi saa 1 jioni ndani ya upeo wa TV47 nami Clifford Ndubi, jukwaa ni lako msanii na fursa ni yetu kuburudika.
I never met someone like you before.
DJ Carol the Queen.
Everywhere I go they call me
Carol the Queen.
Napenda vile unavodunda DJ Carol the Queen. Chiwi kauna kopi yamini nani mitaani woni ita OG. Napenda vipi toti iko vipi kwani we mgeni hapa Nairobi. Na jinsi navolikidi kana kwamba nifanya kana digidi.
Katika kaunti 47, mitaa mbalimbali, watu wana mitazamo tofauti.
Wajana ni wengi, kama maisha, kama huyu amekataa, tafuta mwingine, maisha isonge mbele.
Kisiasa,
naweza sema shida kubwa iliyoko kwenye sheria ya Kenya ni idara ya mahakama.
Masuala ya jamii.
Sposha anamdanganya na ako na familia yake. Kwa hivyo sasa hawezi chunga familia na achunge msichana.
Mitindo pamoja na kibiashara.
Nikikaa nikwambie, wewe unipeleke na Rieng.
Nipeleke na Rieng. Rieng. Tunatembea pamoja katika kila kitongoji kusikiliza semi zao. Ungana nami Tony Mwirigi tupige gumzo pamoja ndani ya 47 Mtaani, hapa TV47, macho na sauti yetu.
Welcome back. This is Engage on TV47 Macho na Sauti Yetu. Remember, we've been here since 10 a.m. We are talking about calm after the storm. In essence, we're talking about failing forward. Basically, when you fail, what happens next? And we have with us in studio David Onyango, who's been giving us, sharing his experiences and giving us tips here and there on the do's and don'ts after failure. And we also have feedback on our social media platforms. Remember, the question was, what are some of your experiences and what particular incident made you feel like a failure? Remember, the feedback is coming through at TV47KE and Angie Wangeshi on Twitter. David, welcome back.
Thank you.
We are fighting a lot off air. We won't tell them what we're fighting over. But in essence, I want you to take us through a few more of your incidences of failure, your personal experiences of failure, and then now you'll also tell us what is your definition of a successful person. So we did the printing, branding.
Yes.
We went to the onions and tomatoes. We went to mushrooms and quails, bado, my favorite. But there were quails in the mix somewhere.
Yes.
What else did you do that just didn't go the way you wanted?
Well, one of the key areas in which I'd say I experienced failure was when I was in uni, at university, first degree. And it took me quite a bit more time to finish that degree than I had wanted. Yeah. I think many people can relate.
You and I both, that's why I'm laughing.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. So, you know, you go into uni and you have this plan in your head. You're going to do a 4-year degree. After that, you'll come out here and you'll be the freshest thing since sliced bread. Employers will be falling over themselves to hire you. And now your road to
to just making it is already paved. It didn't exactly work out that way for me. So it took me about 6 years or so to finish my degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But finally it's done.
It was done.
Okay.
We dusted that story.
How would you describe a successful person?
A successful person. In the context of this conversation, a successful person is someone who's not afraid to try again when they fail.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Is your idea of success the same as your parents' idea of success? Remember you were telling us you went to school and studied this, yet the things you are doing, I'm sure they were asking you, what are you doing? Rudisha school fees, bana, you're wasting our time. Because you've studied economics, finance and you're here doing onions. Like, what was their reaction?
Well, interestingly enough, I am blessed to have very understanding parents, because the first thing is, in our family, none of us has followed what my dad did, because my dad is in the medical field, he's a dentist, and you see, I studied finance, my older brother studied software engineering, my sister studied law. So for my dad, his particular desire is that each of us would find fulfillment in whatever we studied, or in whatever we eventually got involved in. Because he, like I said, he's a dentist, but he's also got a ton of other things that he's doing. And ironically enough, this onions and tomatoes I am doing with him.
Wow.
As one of those things, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Awesome. So it worked out well for you.
It works out well.
For some people, some people are not that fortunate and they don't have it that easy. Another question is, do you think people focus too much on being successful than just getting the satisfaction out of doing what they love?
I think the problem really is the narrative that's built around success, or what is pushed as the image of success, because many people see success as having a ton of money and having it as fast as possible. And now that is what becomes the problem, because then you do not give yourself time to either A, acquire the skill necessary for long-term stability in your success, or B, patience with yourself. So you find you're always jumping from one thing to another, and you never really give anything time to bear fruit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we need a lot of patience once you embark on a project.
Yes, you need a certain amount of patience.
I remember this urge of people wanting to make it really fast. Is this what is also fueling the betting culture? This is just
Very
off.
much. Yes.
It is?
Yes, it is. Because look at it this way. What does betting promise? It promises that you can do a bit of work, quote unquote, figure out what the odds are, and make a lot of money from very little, which is unfortunately a fool's promise. Because you see all those guys who they'll show you checks and he won 100,000, he won 1 million. I did the calculations and the betting company is the only one that's guaranteed to win. Because let's take a bet. You say that, forget even betting. Okay, let's go very basic. Safaricom tells you that...
We should not mention names.
Okay, so, let's say a company tells you that if you put in 5 shillings, then you have the possibility of winning 1 million. 1 million won every week, okay? So you say, fine, I'll risk my 5 shillings. Now you and 20 million other people are risking 5 shillings, okay? So out of these, and it's not just one time, okay? But let's assume everyone's just putting 5 shillings once a day, 20 million people, okay? So this company is making 100 million shillings every day. At the end of the week, it will pay out 1 million shillings. Who's really winning? And it's no guarantee that you, out of that 20 million people, is the one who's going to win that 1 million shillings.
Basically, steer away from it and just be patient with your hustle.
Yes.
Would you say your failures made you a better person?
I would say so. They did.
Yeah.
Ideally, failure is supposed to improve you, because failure does a number of things. Number one, it shows you blind spots, things that you did not consider that you should have. Number two, it also shows you weaknesses in yourself, places where you thought you're strong, but you need to improve. So for example, in my case, I found that in all these cases of missed expectations, I expected certain things, but I was not communicating that. So then I realized I have a problem with communication. So now I am strengthening that area and being willing to just sit down and tell people, if this is what we're going to do, let's just have a contract about it. Let's not hope that everyone will have that feeling of excitement 6 months down the line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a point where we should be giving up and thinking it's just the right time to stop trying? Or is there such a time?
I think, yes, there is such a time. But that now depends on the individual. Because, yes, at some point, it doesn't make sense to pour more effort into what's already gone into something. You might just want to cut your losses and figure out something else to do.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, David, for that. Can you think of any famous person or rather popular face of who has failed spectacularly? This one has just, you're like, what? What just happened? Is there anyone who comes to mind?
In a local context or anyone at all?
Anyone. Anyone at all. Who has failed and you're thinking, hey, this one was a hard one, but now he's picked himself up and is now doing it well?
Well, you see, the thing about failure is many people hide their failures. And many times you only find out about it in retrospect. You don't hear about someone coming out and saying immediately, this is what I failed in, okay? But one person who comes to mind is Tiger Woods. Yeah.
Yeah?
Because at one point, at the beginning, he was at the top of his game, and then things just went off the rails because he had that whole situation with the women, and then he got divorced, and then he had a period of challenges. He had like 10 years when he just had medical issues one after another.
He had such a long time.
Surgery, yes. And people had written him off completely. They said by this one, he should just stop pretending to be a golfer. He's done. He is never going to come back again. And then I think it was this year, he won the Masters again. Okay, and now he's become the most successful golf player in history. I think, if I'm not wrong. And seeing that come back, after 10 years of people steadily beating you down and not believing in you, the courage and the fortitude to believe in yourself and to pick yourself up and to climb the rungs of that very competitive sport. That's one of the guys I say, yes, hats off.
That is so powerful. I mean, this is what you're also talking about, personalizing failure.
Yes.
I don't think he did that.
No.
He just decided, no, you know, let's just do this thing.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very interesting topic, the calm after the storm. We've been so serious, professors. In this. Let's now take it a notch lower or higher, and let's just take a look at these trends. David, I want your reactions on this. Remember, I was talking about your parents and what they thought about you studying this and doing this other thing, but also talking about parents. These are some of the things you have seen or have done in your childhood. I want you to take a look at this and then also react to this. Let's take a look at these trends.
So which camera?
Yeah, it will come on and then we will discuss it. So we have a dad with a daughter and a dad with a son, daughters versus sons, and how your parents treat you. Remember, this is also trending currently. You see how he's handling the daughter and then how he's handling the son. Have you had experiences like you're an uncle? Uncle? No. Are you not yet? No, you are. Okay, yes. Everyone is everyone's uncle. Yes. This is the African context, Bana. This is what you do when you're babysitting schedule.
Well,
what's your reaction to that? Does it really happen? No?
I'd say...
Then this, I don't know how you call it in your... If you've chewed these leaves in your childhood, have you?
So much, so many.
Please, let's gather here and cry because we have come from far. In my language, you call it dafifis. I don't know what you call it in your language.
I have no idea.
You have no idea? Mta language, but you know them.
I know them.
Okay, Sawa. Then we also have, my goodness, the face up. Have you heard about this?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, what's your take on this? This is very scary if it is true indeed that the Russians are actually going to use this against, or rather to people's disadvantage. It's really a scary thought.
I think
because, you know, like most people even access their phones via face recognition. It's very scary stuff.
Yeah. Well, I look at face app and there's some things that come to mind.
Yeah.
Number one, we are not nearly important enough in my opinion, to the Russians, for them to be gathering info on Kenyans.
So
and
probably there's someone they were targeting?
It's probably someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. They might have, I think that the app, if it's being used to target, there'd be many more targets of interest in that list before Kenya comes in. So I wouldn't necessarily look at it as something of concern at the moment, but it's something to be aware of. Because it's just one among many apps that ask us for our information and we just give it blindly.
And we're here thinking, it's a trend, let me get on it, and you're giving all your information. The next time we go to your account, zero.
Nothing.
Shock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now let's take a look at the last, I never knew this thing. Like this last drawer is in a cooker. It's actually, let me give you tips. It's actually when your food is ready, it's for warming it. I use it for, gosh, I am ashamed. I put my recipe.
You did not know these things.
No, I knew that this morning. I put my recipes in here. I don't know. But then if you open mine, you will die of shock. I use it for everything that's not.
Bags.
Aki. No, paper bags were banned. But the things, if you open mine, my goodness, I'm ashamed. I won't even say. But it's good to know that it's actually for warming your food.
It is for warming your food. But haven't you ever thought...
But how do you know that and I don't know that?
Honestly, look at it. A cooker produces heat.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
So at the top is where it's hottest.
Yeah.
At the bottom, it will be comfortable. So if you have food, put it there.
I am
and
ashamed.
it will stay...
No more recipes, paper bags, receipts for what, supermarket.
All
really?
those things that you just needed to dump somewhere.
I know, you just put them there. It's been really lovely having you on board. Thank you so much for giving us insights on failing forward. You have failed, yes. Let's move forward. You must move forward.
Yes.
That is your parting shot?
Yes.
Okay.
Really, human beings are designed to learn by failing.
Yeah.
So failure will happen.
Yeah.
Just don't number one, beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
But number two, don't let it stop you from trying again.
Perfect, David. That's a perfect end to this discussion. Thank you very much for participating on Engage today, ladies and gentlemen. It has been the topic, Come After Storm, failing forward. Yes, you have failed, but what do you do? Thank you for interacting with us on our social media platforms at TV47KE and via Angie Wangeshi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Remember, we still have Matukio Nyanjani coming up with Paul Kirobi. Don't go away from me. It's goodbye, but tomorrow we hook up on Friday briefing right here. Friday Review on TV47 will be broadcasting to you live from Machakos. What is happening there tomorrow is the Machawood festival going down at the Machakos People's Park. We'll be broadcasting this show live from there, so let's hook up tomorrow. Same time, same place. In the meantime, don't go away. Paul Kirobi coming up with Matukio Nyanjani.
Dickson Adire na mwanamuziki mwenza James Namani wanashiriki kipindi cha redio katika jiji kuu la kibiashara la Lagos kuipa miziki yao umaarufu. Wanamuziki hao wenye umri mdogo wa miaka 17 na 13 mtawalia wamechipuka nchini humo baada ya kutambulika katika mashindano ya